Good evening. To His Worship, the Mayor, Faik Mohammed, Mayor of Chaguanas, to my colleague, Senator the Honorable Richie Sukai, Minister in the Ministry of Works and Transport, to the Member of Parliament for Chaguanas East, Ms. Vandana Mohit, to the President of the Chaguanas Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Mr. Baldat Maraj, all other protocols observed. The opportunity to have a conversation with you tonight is one that I am grateful for, because I think there are a number of messages that you'll need to get firsthand, and I'm happy to have the opportunity to share them with you. I've listened very carefully to the speakers before, and in particular your President as well as the Mayor, and heard the cries which are not unfamiliar cries. So let me start by saying this. The government of Trinidad and Tobago recognizes the importance of Chaguanas from a number of perspectives. The first, it is undeniable that business and the economy of Chaguanas is thriving and doing well, and that factors very importantly into the rest of Trinidad and Tobago. In fact, I am always pleased as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago when I'm traversing from north to south or south to north to see what the Mayor referred to, the boast that he put down of the 6 malls that have built up over time. Because you see, many moons ago, every weekend I used to have to traverse from Port of Spain down to Debe in Pinal, down into deep south where my family in Trinidad and Tobago lives. And I recall the whole length of the highway and what was on right side and left side. So to see now what has become of Chaguanas' landscape is something that you need to be proud of. And as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, I thank all of the businesses, businessmen and businesswomen, for taking the initiatives, taking the risks, and investing in your borough of Chaguanas. So congratulations to you for doing so. Anyone who travels across the world and the globe would know that one of the major issues that cities, towns that expand at a rapid pace face is traffic. In fact, a few weeks ago, I was in London working to secure our country's future. And London is a city that faces traffic. Toronto is a city that faces traffic. New York, Washington, D.C., all of the major metropolitan cities across the world. It is not something that is unique at all to the borough of Chaguanas. However, we recognize that it is critical and important for your continued growth and your well-being. And as you've heard the Minister in the Ministry of Works and Transport say to you tonight, I was in a meeting with the Honorable Prime Minister and the Minister of Works and the Minister of Finance just a few weeks ago, and very high on our priority list was the situation that is taking place in Chaguanas, which is one of the results of your expansion and your success, because that does bring traffic. You look at the Chaguanas landscape, see the bustling residential and business progress, and it has happened. I can assure you that we have heard the issues of traffic in Chaguanas, and you have no better advocate than Minister Richie Sukai, who has been making those pleas, and they have been heard, and we have instructed at the Ministry of Works and Transport to start, and I'm sure they will be presenting to you all the plans that they have. The second issue that was raised is one that is not unique at all to Chaguanas, and that is the issue of crime. And it is an issue that is facing us throughout Trinidad and Tobago, and I dare say the whole CARICOM region. It is something that once again the government is focused on and working frontally and closely with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and our intelligence agencies and the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force to try and have them address. And I have been observing the Minister in the Ministry of National Security, the Honorable Keith Scotland, has made a number of recent visits to talk with you, the business people in Chaguanas, along with the police service. And this scourge that we all have to work together to combat of extortion. A special unit has been set up at the TTPS under, I believe it is Assistant Commissioner of Police Richard Smith, and they are working feverishly to try and bring that to bear and their pressures to bear. It is real, and the government's head is not buried in the sand, as we're constantly doing what we can with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to have these things addressed. Unfortunately, it does require the assistance of those who are being affected by extortion. So tonight, I want you to know that it is something we're very aware of, that we speak about at the cabinet level, at the National Security Council level, and it is something that we have to address, meaning the we here is not only the government, but it is every right-thinking, law-abiding citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. The third issue that you all have raised here tonight is that of foreign exchange. And that ties into what I came here to really speak to you all about tonight, and why I wanted the opportunity, and I couldn't pass it up. This being my second speaking engagement for the night, and unfortunately I have a third after this one as well. You would have seen the efforts being made by the government of Trinidad and Tobago over the last 6+ years to secure the future of Trinidad and Tobago by what brings in the foreign exchange in the levels that are necessary for Trinidad and Tobago, and that is the energy sector. And whilst it was only this week as the acting Prime Minister, I delivered the feature address at the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association, where Dr. Ali Mohammed's business, his company SM Jalil, featured, and many other manufacturing businesses featured. And I told them that they have to continue doing what they do, because a rising tide lifts all ships. The truth is, Trinidad and Tobago's success is very aligned with the success of our energy sector. You would have seen the efforts that we have made over the last few years, and I've come here tonight to give you the assurance that domestically we are exploiting every opportunity. And you would have seen in the last couple years or so, and more so in the past few months, a number of initiatives taking place in Trinidad and Tobago domestically in our waters that are going to secure the future of our gas sector. Just 2 days ago, the Mento platform, which is a joint venture between BP and EOG, sailed from the Tufco plant, the Tufco fabrication yard in La Brea. And it struck me, and I wanted to give you this message tonight. If you go to Tufco, you will see the amount of platforms that they built all throughout the 2000 period. And then they went into 2009. Absolutely nothing was built locally until 2016. And what we've done is we've regenerated business there by getting the multinational oil and gas companies, the BPs, the Shells, the EOGs, to be doing the projects right here in our waters in Trinidad and Tobago, and started rebuilding those platforms. The Mento platform and bottom side have sailed, and this week I will be going with Shell to launch the Manatee construction of the Manatee platform at Tufco. So you're seeing things come to fruition. Dr. Mohammed was just asking me a question that every citizen of Trinidad and Tobago who's interested in its progress would ask: what about Dragon? What about our cross-border efforts? It is absolutely impossible for anyone to predict how the world of geopolitics is going to unfold. But what I can assure you we've done is we've secured with Dragon a 30-year license from the government of Venezuela. We have secured from the United States government that is going to be honored a 2-year OFAC license that expires in October next year, and we haven't stopped there. The conversations continued, and as I've said before, we have been speaking to both sides of the aisle. So the recent election results in the United States, we have been speaking to the Republican side. We've been making our armed treaties. We remain very connected with the government of the United States to try and ensure that we secure the future of these projects. Our partner in that project, 70%, is Shell, which is the largest LNG trader in the world. It was only 2 weekends ago I was in London, spending a Friday with Shell and a Saturday with BP, securing our future to make sure they are on the same pages. We've secured Coquina Mannequin, the Manatee platform which is being built in Trinidad, and that project is full speed ahead, is the largest gas project for decades in Trinidad and Tobago, and it is linked to a field in Venezuela called Loran, which is together 10 TCF of gas, which will last for decades. We are in the process of securing Loran as well, and I come here to tell you these things because you see, very soon we will have choices to make, and you would have been able to measure this government and what it has been able to do in very difficult geopolitical circumstances by negotiations taking place at Miraflores in Caracas, by negotiations taking place in Washington, D.C., by discussions taking place in the European Commission, in the EU. And these are the things that are being done to secure the future of Trinidad and Tobago and those 4 extremes. Right now, as I speak to you, there are 2 survey vessels surveying the Dragon field that are being paid for by us and Shell. These types of monies would not be expended if we did not have a belief, and especially Shell, that the projects would be taking place. We are going to be spending, having spent in Trinidad and Tobago, $10 billion US dollars between now and 2027 in this industry alone. And you speak to anybody in the energy sector, and in particular the service companies, and they will tell you that business is thriving. It has picked up because all of these projects are coming to fruition. So I wanted to share this good news with you, and I wanted to ask you that when you're speaking to the people that you speak and the decision makers, to tell them that these projects, regardless of who is the government in place, are for the benefit of you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Because you see, there's some people who think by trying their best to make these projects not happen, and by being naysayers, and by doing all sorts of things. Recently, I heard people saying they were going to write President Trump's government and tell them to investigate the Dragon deal. And I thought to myself, how ridiculous a concept is that as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago? I have absolutely no fear of what has been signed with Dragon being investigated by anyone, anywhere in the world. Because you see, we did that with Shell, and we did it all above board, and we did it to the highest standards that can stand up to any scrutiny anywhere in the world. But it is important that we as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, and you as a borough of Chaguanas, an important part of Trinidad and Tobago, do what is best for Trinidad and Tobago, because these are the deals that will secure the forex that we so desperately need, not only in the near future, but for many generations to come. So people, I thank you all sincerely for the opportunity just to share a few words with you tonight, but hopefully a few important words. Because you see, Trinidad and Tobago is one Trinidad and Tobago. And I tell you the same thing I told the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association earlier this week. A rising tide lifts all ships. So if Trinidad and Tobago, regardless of who you support in government, is doing well and doing better, and it rises, all of us as citizens would do better. So I want to take the opportunity to let you know we are hearing your concerns, we have heard them, and they will be addressed. But more importantly, outside of this, we have one Trinidad and Tobago, And I'm sure all of us want what is best for that one Trinidad and Tobago. So I ask you to please support the efforts of Trinidad and Tobago. And having said that, I wish you all of the very best, and I hope Chaguanas has a busy, bustling, safe, I can't say it's not going to have traffic concerns, Christmas season, which I know is important to your retail businesses and to the success of Chaguanas. And then let's have a safe and prosperous new year, because we all want Trinidad and Tobago to succeed. Thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you, and I look forward to us continuing together to build Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you.